Marriage is an institution that God Himself ordained and started. Marriage is therefore a holy institution. But today, the devil has taken our marriages and is controlling them badly. Why should the devil take up our marriages and God Himself started our marriages? Marriage should be an institution full of happiness, joy, and togetherness. And even though there will be some challenges in our marriages, we should have what it takes to be able to overcome these challenges. There will be some problems in our marriages, but we should have the wisdom to be able to solve these problems. There will be some gaps in our marriages, but we should be able to fix these gaps. We need to possess back our marriages and dedicate them to God, because with God, the marriage institution will be as what God intended it to be. We shall have a number of lectures on our marriages to see if we can improve on them, even if just a little. Welcome to our lecture number 1. Marriage is considered by many people to be hell here on earth. Many people today talk of marriage like a small prison which is not necessary for one to get into. Many people today regret as to why they got married. Many unmarried people today will say they are better off never getting married at all in their lives. In the world today, about 45% of people get separation and divorce in their marriages. Again, there is a 40% of people who live through marriage tolerating what is there. So they are just there, but they are going through a lot of bitterness, through a lot of anger, through a lot of suffering, through a lot of rejection, but they decide to just stay. They sit on that pan that is on fire. They continue to be burnt, but they tolerate that heat and continue to be in marriage because they do not want other people to say that they got divorced or they separated. They ask, what will people say? What will people think of us? How will people see us? How will the society and the church take us to be? How will my workmates, my family members see me that my marriage has come to an end? You will get another 10% of people who are very fake in their marriages. Yes, they are there, and everything seems to be going on well, but they get affair somewhere else to compensate for what they are not getting in their marriages. And you can't even think anything is wrong. Everything is going on well. So we have the 45% who separate and get divorced. We have another 40% that is just existing and surviving in marriage. That makes 85%. Then you have another 10% of the tricky people who just get whatever they want outside there. And here in marriage, it is like a theater where they act. Everything is okay. We remain with 5% of people who get to enjoy through their marriages to the age of 60. Just 5% like this get to enjoy their marriages. What is the problem? Where is the gap? So that we may fill this gap. Where is the problem? So that we may find a solution to this problem. When two people come together and they join to be one, it must be like that. But when people come together, two of them, and they remain to be separate entities, the problem starts right there. In the book of Genesis, and you know Genesis is the first book of the Bible, and it sets the theme for the whole Bible. We see God creating everything else. But for man, he got him to sleep, got his rib, and made a woman from him. Adam and Eve. Remember, before Eve was created, Adam was very lonely. Even though he had all the animals, even though he had all the plants, he was very lonely. This is to say that even if you will have all property on earth, that is not to guarantee that you will not be lonely. You could be married and still lonely with all that property in the tune of billions. So there is something more into marriage than this. And the point is this: when God got this rib from Adam, Adam will later say, "This is bone of my bones, and this is flesh of my flesh." So they are one entity. Today, many people are in marriage, but they are living their separate ways. They have never joined completely. People may think that sex is what will sustain marriage. But even those people who have the best of sex in their marriages, they still go through a very hard time. They separate, they divorce. So sex is not the basic or the foundation of this marriage. These two people, even if they are having the best of sex on earth, they are not one. They have not yet agreed. They have not yet resolved to live as one on earth. It is therefore very important to ask ourselves, then, what is this which can sustain marriage? Is it sex? Is it love? Is it property? What is it? It may be a combination of so many things. But what I think, after researching widely, is that wisdom could be the foundation of a successful marriage. Remember, these two people, maybe they come to meet at the age of 30 and they get to be married to one another. But for the 30 years, each one of them had a different kind of life. They were not brought up together. They are not twins. One of them could be from this country and another one from another country. Two different cultures. Two different ways of living. These are two people with two different sets of orientations. They understand life differently. They could even be understanding marriage differently. Someone could be an orphan. He or she never saw a father or a mother. So what they think about marriage only exists in their imagination. Another one could have had parents who are drunkards. So the picture of marriage is that which he or she observed. Another one could have had an abusive father or mother. And to them, that is the interpretation they have of marriage. Another one could have a different observation from the past life and bring it to their own marriage. But with wisdom, with understanding how a human being operates, that psychological part of us, one can be able to deal, one can be able to face life as it comes. So you understand, if I behave this way, you should behave this other way. If I'm in the mood of fighting, don't get in the mood of fighting. If I'm in the mood of abusing, see what you can do. Because you understand how a human being operates psychologically first. And you are able to implement this knowledge that you have to make it wisdom and make your marriage work. So, if two wise people come together and get married, there are very high chances that their marriage will overcome the challenges which are there in marriage and will sustain itself for so many years. Probably until these two people are set apart by death. And therefore, I always say that before getting married, it is important to have some lessons on marriage mentorship. So that before you decide you are getting into it, you have an idea of what it is. Let it never be a story like that of a pilot who is not trained and wants to take a plane and take it to the skies. This plane, with this pilot who is not well trained, is likely to cause a fatal air crash. Marriage is even more important than this plane. And if the both of you, the pilot and the co-pilot, are not well trained, your marriage will come down crashing. And therefore, I always think that mentorship, this guidance, before you make the decision of getting into marriage, is very important. Just invest in this mentorship before you get married. And secondly, after you are married, make a point of at least once per year to see your marriage mentor. A marriage mentor in most cases will be a psychologist, a counselor who is coming in to interact, who is coming in contact with so many people who are having issues in their marriages. And therefore, they have so much they have learned that this couple can do to ensure they do not get into the same trouble that some people got into yesterday. It is worth noting that if mentorship is done, if guidance is done before and during marriage, this is like preventive medicine. If it is not done, trouble will come in, and these people will eventually need counseling. Counseling comes in when trouble has already gotten into this marriage. It is like curative medicine. Remember, it may never cure. And if it cures, it may never cure completely. There might be some very painful scars left behind. So instead of waiting for that counseling, instead of waiting for trouble, instead of waiting for drama, it's better to always have mentorship before and at least once per year in your marriage. However, if things go wrong, it is always important that in your first stages you agree. If we come to disagree one day, if we fight one day, if we are not in terms one day, if we are not talking to one another one day, where can we go to get assistance? So that when this trouble comes, you are already prepared for it. Not that it is going to come, but you are at least prepared that if this trouble comes, you can go to this or this or this to seek for mediation and to seek for your problems to be solved. Just imagine if you had a mentor in your marriage and you had agreed with your partner that if trouble comes in, we will go to this person. You may not even go together that day, but one of you may go. Then your mentor will call the other partner and try to find out what is happening, and probably mediate and guide you on how best to solve the disagreement that you have. Remember, a psychologist will never solve that problem for you. A psychologist will never fill that gap for you, but will guide you on the steps to take, on the moves to take, so that you get a solution to the problem that has become a thorn in your marriage. Many people never have this mentorship before marriage, and many people also do not have a mentor who speaks with them at least annually in their marriages. And this could be one of the greatest disasters in our marriages. Number two, it is very important at the very beginning to have a list of expectations. You are a young man getting married to this young girl, young woman. As a man, you need to tell her what are your expectations in this marriage, so that if there is one or two she cannot be able to meet, she will tell you from the very beginning. Otherwise, you'll be 10 years into this marriage and you are saying, I expect you to do this and this, but you never told me. If you are a young woman, you need to make this young man understand, this is my list of 20 expectations in this marriage. This is what I would love to find in this marriage. Then this gentleman will tell you, this is possible. So you have exchanged a list of your expectations. As my wife, you have my list of expectation, And as your husband, I have given you my list of expectation. This is like a marking scheme in our marriage. Because if I violate your expectation number 5, you will tell me, look at expectation number 5. Why didn't you come home yesterday? You never informed me that you are to sleep out. And expectation number 5 was, you must communicate any day you don't come home. So it is like we have a marking scheme. So I'll be able to note I have gone wrong here and I'll be able to correct. But today, most of the people I've spoken to, I don't remember even one who had a list of expectation in their marriage at the very start before they got into that marriage. Many people are making that list of expectation when they are 5 years into their marriage, 10 years, 15, 20 years into their marriage. And this is another reason as to why many people are finding marriage to be like hell here on earth. It's only that they cannot see Satan physically. They consider their partner to be the Satan. They cannot see this fire that burns in hell. But the bitterness, the disappointment, the unfaithfulness, the betrayals, the recklessness in this marriage is that fire. They are burning and burning and burning. It is worth to also take point number 3. That when two people come together, they are joined spiritually, legally, economically, and socially. I'm sure and certain in our next marriage lectures, we are going to talk about them one by one. But before we get to that point, I would like you to be very careful so that you may not be the partner who will come to say, after your partner is gone, you've divorced, you've separated, or one has just died, you say, I never enjoyed my 40 years in marriage. What a disappointment. 40 years in marriage, I never enjoyed. I don't remember of a single day when I enjoyed my marriage. But you are there for 40 years, honestly speaking. It is unfortunate if you could be living in the same house. And this is happening so much. You are living in the same house, sleeping on the same bed, but no one is talking to the other. I remember one day I had a program on a national radio. And this program was going late in the night. It was 3 to 4 in the night, a.m. And the following day, someone called me. And this lady told me, when you are speaking on radio of partners who have not spoken to one another for a whole year, and you are asking very strong, touching questions, my husband tapped my back. At first, I was shocked because we have not been speaking, and I was wondering what was he intending to do. Then, when I woke up, my husband came closer to me and kissed me. Then he kept quiet and continued tapping me as if he wanted me to remain awake. And I noted the radio was on. And I heard you talking to those people who have not been speaking to one another. And you asked, if your partner dies today, and you have not been speaking for a whole year, and you have been living in the same house, sleeping on the same bed, and everyone thinks everything is okay with you, will you ever forgive yourself? You better speak and say, let us divorce, let us separate, instead of keeping quiet, making your bedroom to be like a grave here on earth, to be like a tomb, where it is as silent as a grave. Your bedroom is like that. And some other points that I added that I may not be able to say on this video because children will be watching. This couple, after the show was over, 4 in the morning, they started talking and they decided that they are going to seek for assistance to help them iron out their differences. Today, this couple is happily living together. What was making them not to talk to one another was something not so major, something which could be solved. You could be watching today, and could be you are this person who is not talking to your partner. You could have divided your bed with some pillows. You don't want to come into contact with one another. For a month, for 2 months, you have been through a marriage that is hell here on earth. There is something you can do to make things to be better. One thing I'm so certain about, there is no man, there is no woman who will get into marriage so that they keep quiet, they don't talk to one another for 1 month. No one will get into marriage so that they separate after 5 years. No one in his or her sound mind will get into marriage so that they divorce after 10 years. No one would like to get into a prison, hell, here on earth, in the name of marriage. People would love to have happiness and joy in their marriages. People would love to have a friend in their partners. But now, you need to ask yourself, I need to ask myself as well, how well are we doing in our marriages? How many years have you been married? For those years, if you can take 1 year at a time and you give yourself a percentage of how well you did in your marriage in the first year, in the second year, up to the 10th year, then you get an average. Would you get an E in your marriage below 30%? Or would you get at least a B plus, 70% and upwards, which is okay? Take yourself into task. Examine yourself. Evaluate for the time that you've been married. If it is 1 year, take 1 month after another and take an average. But for those who are married for years, take each year and give yourself a percentage to see how well you are doing. If you are doing below 70, which is a B plus, get to understand that something immediately must be fixed in this marriage to ensure that things are running into the right direction. I would like to say also here that yes, sex is important in marriage. And we say the body of the wife belongs to the husband and the body of the husband belongs to the wife. Yes, it is important. But it can never be enjoyable in hell. You must put all other factors to be okay, the environment to be conducive, so that the bonding that comes with sex may come to make sense. But if it is just sex and sex and sex, this will be like a case of reckless teenagers and not adults in marriage. So it is very important to note that yes, you will be joined as one, legally, spiritually, economically, and socially. Sex is important. Take it as it should. Family finances are important. Make sure that they do not bring division between you two. Remember, everything that you have belongs to you too. And this is how it is. It belongs to you. If you died today, your partner could take on and carry on with the businesses that you had. She could or he could be your next of kin. And you would like him or her to be responsible with what is left behind. But if today you are holding so many secrets that if you died, your items could be held by the government like unclaimed property, which here in Kenya runs into the billions, going to almost 100 billion. It is very unfortunate that one could be keeping their property a secret from their partner, even from their children, maybe for no apparent reason at all. There could be a difference between you two, but you can solve the difference. There could be a problem. You can find a solution to the problem. There could be a gap. You can find how you fix that gap to ensure that there is that conducive living between you two. There is that mutual understanding, mutual love, a sense of responsibility, a sense of oneness, which will make you feel free with your partner. Because if you are not feeling free with your partner, if you are not seeing your partner to be like your friend, then there is problem around the corner. I would like to complete this first lecture by saying, when two people come together, even before they say publicly in church or they go to tell their parents, that seed of marriage has started growing in them. Before you come public, that seed of marriage has started germinating in you. When this marriage comes to be known by other people, legally and through such other ways, now it is known by other people remember it started with you. This marriage will come to be a family when God blesses you with children. And even those who are barren, they cannot biologically get their own children. When you adopt a child, that child becomes part of this family. Remember, this family will make a home. And this home is where we dwell. Charity begins at home. This is where this charity begins. Remember, you could be married, you could be having children, but you are just in a house. It doesn't have the sense of a home because there is no oneness, there is no love, there is no mutual understanding. It is hell here on earth. That hell is not a home. That could be just a physical structure without any other home meaning in it. And therefore, ensure that when you are getting married, you have a family, you can also have a home. Until you achieve a home, your marriage will seem not to be working well. When you have children, remember, these children are observing you. Their marriages will heavily depend on how they see you as a husband and as a wife, as a father and as a mother. So, note, your children are in school. They are watching. They are observing. They are learning. What future are you giving to those children? There could be those people who are single parents. Well and good. Ensure that you bring up your child in the best way and with the best lessons of what a marriage should look like. There are those people who could be divorced. Ensure that you together take good care of your children so that you do not mess up with their marriage understanding in their life to come. So, let us all strive. Let us all commit ourselves. Let us all make a sacrifice to forego something that we love for the sake of our marriages. Let us be patient with one another. Be ready to wait for your partner to change for the better. If you see your partner is not willing to change, something is wrong. We need to change. We need to adjust so that we may be able to fit together in one life as one flesh, one body. So, let us do all we can to ensure that our marriages work. Before you get into marriage, ensure that you have that pre-mentorship for marriage. And when you're in marriage, ensure at least once per year, you have got a good psychologist who gives you the mentorship you require for your marriage. And as you go on, ensure that you exchange a list of expectations to ensure that you remain in line with what your partner was looking for in a husband, looking for in a wife. Do not give your partner hell here on earth. When your partner is suffering, you will equally be suffering. When your partner is in prison, you will also be in prison. And there will be more damage, more harm than use, than benefit you get in your marriage. God started the institution of marriage. Invite Him to be with you in all the major decisions you make in this marriage. The Holy Spirit is our helper. Call Him to come and help you through your marriage. For this lecture 1, I would like us to put a comma at that point. Then we shall pick on lecture 2 on marriage. It will go almost up to lecture 10. Thank you.